live. Let me just check to get that Facebook notification, just to see that we are broadcasting on all channels. But we want to welcome you. We're going to have our regular Ma'ariv evening service led by Cantor Judy Dubin-Aronoff, and then we will have our special Yom HaShoah program. So I encourage everyone who's with me in the Zoom room to stay on mute for this, although you're welcome to have your camera on so we can see your face, but Cantor Aronoff is going to lead. So thank you everyone for joining us, and whenever you're ready, Cantor A.
Alrighty, grab your Siddur or your online source, and if you're able, please rise. This way is east for me, so you get to see my side. We're on page 137 for the beginning of Mariv. Adonai Hoshea melech yaneinu v'yom koreinu, baruchu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah potech shorim. You may be seated if you'd like. El chai v'kayam tamidim lo chaleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim ahavat olam beit Yisrael m'cha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot u'kimu mishpat. V'avatcha al tasir mimenu li'olamim, baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol miodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. We continue with the second and third paragraphs of the Shema 138 and 139. V'haya im shamoa tishmu mitzvotai asher anochi mitzaveh bechem. V'natati es b'zarcha livemdecha v'chalta v'salata. Adonai Elohechem emet ve'emunah kol zovokayim aleinu ki Adonai Eloheinu ve'en zulato v'enach Yisrael amo pidei miyad melachim. U'malchuto b'ratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe u'bnei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam mi chamocha bo'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh norati lot osef ele malchutcha ra'uvanecha bokeyam lifnei Moshe ze eli anu v'yamru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov u'gelo miyad chazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai ga'al Yisrael. Page 140. Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'avideinu makenu l'chaim frozen sukkah. Ushmor tzeiteinu avoinu l'chaim l'shalom me'atav yad olam baruch atah Adonai shomer amo Yisrael la'ad baruch Adonai le'olam amen ve'amen baruch Adonai mitzvon shchein shalayim hallelujah baruch Adonai. כי המלכות שלך היא, וללמד תמלוך בכבוד, כי אין לנו מלך אלא אתה, ברוך אתה, אדוני, המלך בכבודו תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ועל כל מעשיו, יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובימי וחי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו,
Amen. Yehesh me rabba mavarach leolam ulomei almaya.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה.
Brichu.
לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה וימרו. Amen. At this time we rise for the silent Amidah, which begins on 142b and goes through 148. And I would like to point out that there is a special additional paragraph on page 145 for Yom HaShoah. If you're still davening the Amida, please continue to do so. I would just like to read out loud the paragraph for Yom HaShoah, first in Hebrew, then in English. Nachem Adonai Eloheinu et she'erit amcha Yisrael, ud mutzal me'esh. כי קם עלינו אויב אכזר, ביקש להשמיד, להרוג ולאבד את כל היהודים, מנער ועד זקן, טף ונשים, ואמר לכו ונכחידם מגוי, ולא ייזכר שם ישראל עוד. אזי המים שטפונו, הרבונו לענה, אוי נא לנו, כי שודדנו, כי רחק ממנו מנחם. על אלה אני בוכייה, Ach lo lanetzach tishkachenu. Adonai our God, Comfort the remnant of your people Israel, a brand plucked from the fire. For a cruel enemy arose to destroy us, to murder every Jew, young and old, women and children, saying, "Come, let us annihilate them, so that the name of Israel might no longer be uttered." The waters engulfed us, our tormentors fed us bitter poison. Alas, we are undone, for our source of comfort is yet far off. Recalling these things, I weep, but you will not forget us eternally. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yalma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayachon v'yamechon v'chay d'chol beit Yisrael b'gala v'zman kariv imro amen. Yehei shmei
Shmei Rabba Mavarach Liolam Ulol Mehi Almaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitor v'yitrumam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalel shmei d'kudashah.
Richu.
Le'ela min kol brachata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiran b'yama v'imru.
Amen.
Titkabel tzloton uvaton d'chol Yisrael kodam avon divishmaya v'imru.
Amen.
Hey Shlomo Rabba min Shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
So before aleinu, it's time to count the Omer. And so for this, we turn to page 152. Please rise if you're able. Hineni muchana lekayem mitzvat aseh shel sfirat haomer. I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer. As it is ordained in the Torah, you shall count from the eve of the second day of Pesach, when an Omer of grain is to be brought as an offering, 7 complete weeks. The day after the 7th week of your counting will make 50 days. I'm going to chant the bracha. Rabbi Yarkin will chant on behalf of all of you, but you may do it on your own as well. And then I will count that number that comes after 10. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. You're muted.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer.
Hayom achad asar yom shehem shavua echad ve'arba'a yamim la'omer.
Today we have arrived at the 11th day of the Omer. We are counting up towards Shavuot.
And now that we are in the 11th day of the Omer, we turn back to Aleinu, page 150. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol amonam, va'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ ומושב יקרה בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד על כן נקווה לך אדוני אלוהינו לראות מרע בדבר זה, תקנו למה מלכות שכב וכל בן בשר. כי המלכות שלך היא ולעולמי תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו Echad. We are going to recite a mourner's Kaddish now, as I'm about to read a list of those whose yortzites we observe today. We will also be doing another mourner's Kaddish at the conclusion of our Yom HaShoah program. So I would just like to recall the names of those people whose yortzites are on the 26th of Nisan. Ruth Cohen, Alexander Horowitz, Miriam Ingber, Willis Johnson, Ruth Kapler, Devorah Katz, Jack Leitstein, Dora Schwartzberg, Evelyn Moldau Senreich, Dion Simon, and Israel Superstein. If there are other people whose yortzeit is today on the 26th of Nisan, please feel free to add them to the chat wherever you may be on whatever platform. Those who are in mourning or observing a yortzeit, please rise if you're able and join with me in Mourner's Kaddish on page 151. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah. Bialma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach leolam uleolmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran v'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. You may be seated, and I'm going to turn things over right now to Rabbi Yarkin. I would just like to mention, unless you wanted to talk about the date of 26th of Nisan versus the 27th of Nisan, were you going to mention that, or shall I? I will take that. So Yom HaShoah is typically the 27th of Nisan, but this year, the 27th of Nisan being tomorrow is Friday. And so when such a day as Yom HaShoah turns out on a Friday, the Knesset, i.e. the rabbis who greatly influence the Knesset, have decided that they don't want that to butt into Shabbat. And so we observe it the day before. And that's why this year Yom HaShoah is being observed on the 26th day of Nisan, Wednesday night, Thursday. I just wanted to clarify that in case anybody might be confused. Rabbi Yarkin.
Thank you, Cantor Aronoff, for that clarification. I was just double checking in my luach that was indeed the case, and you are correct. And it was lovely just to hear your voice as we begin this program. So I am seeing a lot of people who are getting to view this on Facebook, and I shared the link for this Zoom meeting on Facebook, and you are welcome to join us in the Zoom room. You're also welcome to stay on Facebook, and we are very, very, very blessed today because we're going to get to hear from a survivor. And we'd like to first just set the mood, to have a shift from the mundane, from a regular Ma'ariv. So we're going to actually, in a moment, pass it back to Cantor Aronoff, who's going to offer up a song in order to lean in to the Yom HaShoah commemoration that's going to occur. So I'm going to just briefly put us on gallery view so we can see one another's faces. And again, just to let people know that when this is happening, we're all going to stay on mute. You're welcome to have your camera on so that we can see you. And then afterwards, Eva has generously opened this up for questions. So you are welcome to ask her a question, or you can type a question in the comments to her or through me. But for now, back to Cantor Aronoff, and she'll explain why she selected the songs that she is going to offer us. And also, pause. I'm going to press record at this moment so that we'll have a record of this experience that we are having together. So I hope I have everyone's permission in the Zoom room to be recorded and to be part of this Adat Ari program.
Okay, so there are a couple of songs that I have been doing over the last few years on Yom HaShoah, and I come back to the same ones because I find them very, very moving. The first one I'm going to do is a song that I first heard on an album by one of my favorite Israeli artists, Chava Alberstein, who grew up speaking Yiddish and who sings not only in Hebrew but sings in Yiddish as well. And this I heard on one of her albums many years ago. It's called Rivkele di Shabbosdika. The story of this song is as follows. The song was inspired by the tragic occurrence in the Bialystok ghetto on Shabbat, July 12, 1942, when 5,000 Jews were shot by the Germans. Women whose husbands were killed on that Shabbat day were called Shabbosdika, the Sabbath ones. The words are by Pesach Kaplan, who was a writer, composer, music critic, editor of the Yiddish daily Das Neue Leben in Bialystok before the war, and he died in the Bialystok ghetto in 1943, and the composer of the tune is unknown. And I'll just read the words in English of what I'm going to be singing in Yiddish. Rivkele di Shabbosdika, the Sabbath one, in a factory toils, twists a strand into a strand, weaves a braided coil. Oh, the gloomy ghetto stands there much too long, and her heart with so much pain, rueful, so forlorn. Where is he, my darling one? Does he still live? Where? In the concentration camp? Is he slaving there? Oh, how dreadful is his lot. How horrible is mine. Since that fateful Saturday, since that day, that time. Rivkele di Shabbosdika arbet in Fabrik, dreht vor dem zu, vor dem Fleck zu neu verstrick. Oi die Ghetto finstere, deuert scheint zu lang, und das Herz azoi verklemmt, tut dir azoi bang. Wo ist mein lieben Kerl, lebt noch, chotsch wo? Sie in Konzentrationslager, Arbeit schwer und Ruh. Oi, die Finster ist ihm dort, bitter ist mir dort. Sind von jenem Schabbeson, sind von jener Schor. And the second song I'd like to sing is in English, written by someone named Stacy Beyer. It's called It Will Never Happen Again. I don't need to explain it to you. It's in English, it's self-explanatory. And again,
you may need to grab a box of tissues for this one. It's so moving, and Kanta Aronoff and I have discussed that this, for some reason, is just a song that really gets us.
My eyes have never seen the days and nights that you have seen. My ears have never heard the cries ringing out from where you've been. My body has never known the pain that came upon you in unthinkable ways. But somewhere inside of me, there is a place that's reaching out to you. Tell me the stories and I'll pass them down to my own and my children will tell their children, and so on and so on, and then it will never happen again. There is no way for time to heal the wounds that did you harm. Torn from your family, pulled from your home, a brand on your arm, a number to be your identity, but no one could steal your dignity. And somewhere there is a place in me that's reaching out to you. Tell me the stories, and I'll pass them down to my own, and my children will tell your children, and so on and so on, and then it will never happen again. And though today you're here and free, you carry the burden of memories, and I must learn your history. So no one ignores, no one denies, no one forgets the truth. Tell me the stories, and I'll pass them down to my own, and my children will tell their children, and so on and so on, and then it will never happen again. And so on and so on, and then it will never happen again.
Toda rabba, Kant Aronoff. Thank you for that. Whew. Well, it is 7:30, and as we promised, we are going to get to hear Eva Trenk. Just a tiny bit of background, and I know Eva will tell you this herself. Eva was just a young girl growing up in Czechoslovakia when Hitler invaded Poland. She and her family were forced from their home and into a forced labor camp. And when she was just 4 years old, this all went down. Separated from her mother and grandmother, Auschwitz wasn't far away. Eva has recounted her story to groups of hundreds of students, probably thousands by now, so that they will never forget this atrocious chapter in our lives. And she has been documented at the Los Angeles Museum of the Holocaust as part of the institution's Voices of History program. And we are so honored and blessed that Eva is going to tell her story to her home community for Yom HaShoah at this time. And we just want to acknowledge it is very emotionally draining to have to recount such a harrowing tale. So Eva, in advance, just know that we so appreciate your incredible courage. We believe you, every word that you say. This is a safe space, and we cherish your story as one of our own. And we are inspired by your resilience and your good-heartedness. So, in your own time, and feel free as you're speaking if you need to get water or take a tissue. This is whatever you need to do. We're just so grateful that you're with us today and that you survived. Eva Trenk, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Rabbi, very much for such a warm introduction. As it's very hard, that's true, it's very hard, especially this kind of occasion. But, we have to be strong and do our best. So that's what I'm doing. And it is an honor to be, invited to speak to you. As many of you know me from the temple, some know me better, some just know the face. And I just like to let you know, as Rabbi said, I was born in Czechoslovakia. which is beautiful country. I know many of you have been traveling to Czechoslovakia, especially the Prague and all over. It's just beautiful. 28 years ago, Czechoslovakia separated, and now it's Czech Republic and Slovak Republic. I was born in Slovak Republic. I was, as Rabbi mentioned, I was very young, 4 years old, and what should I say? We were two children. My brother Simcha, Artur, who was 2 years older than I am. And the life was very good. We had wonderful parents, wonderful established family, lots of cousins, and lots of friends. Life was very good. My parents owned their business. Of course, my father was working only. My mother, that time the woman didn't work. So she took care of us children. And once in a while, she had beautiful voice. It's not as nice as your cousin Judy, but she had beautiful voice, and she was invited many places for their bar mitzvah or their weddings as a volunteer. This was her hobby. So of course there was no charge, but she was very successful. So life was very good. As I said, I attended kindergarten, had lots of friends, and we enjoyed company and the friends. Lots of celebration, lots of people visiting us. Then I came home one day crying. So my mother asked me what happened. I said, the children they don't want, my friends, they don't want to play with me. And they said, I am a Jewish. So my mother said, of course, that time it was 1942. So everybody, adults, not the children, they knew what's going on because it started already in Poland in 1939. But it was 1942 when I was 4 or 5 years old. And the life was so very, very difficult. Then it started to be difficult even more because we were supposed to wear the yellow star, everybody probably knows. The Jewish people were not able to go out after 8 o'clock, no concert, no theater, nothing. It was very, very eliminate everything for the Jewish people. Every time the new law came, governor decided this, no law this, then one day 2 Slovak fascists, we call them fascists because they were not German, they were people from the city where we lived there. And they came and they announced then my parents have to give up their businesses. Not only us, of course, the all Jewish people, we have to give up the businesses. So why are you taking this? That's the law. That's the order, and you have to give up the businesses. And they are offered to my father if he likes to work for them. So he's more than welcome. Of course, my father had no choice, so he was working for them. A couple of months later, there was knocking on the door again. And again, the fascists came and they said, you have a couple of days and you have to get ready, put some important things what you think is important for you, and you have to leave everything behind and leave. Where are we going? Why are you taking us? So everybody was questioning them, of course. So to work. We have work here, we are established here. We have everything here, complete life. No, you have to go, and they told us where to meet. There was close to the temple, there was a big backyard. So we had no choice. Of course, we took some suitcases and we are going, and there we arrived. Lots of people were there already. So they brought a big buses and they drove us to the station. When we came to the station, again, we had to, where we going? So they pack us in this wagon. So there is no, toilet, there is nothing, no food, no nothing. There was lots of crying, lots of disaster. People were so unhappy, confused, complained. Anyway, there was no other solution, So once, we arrived to the city, we discover where we are. So we find out this is a camp. It is in Slovak and it's called Žilina. The moment when we arrive, they separate us. Can everybody hear me okay? Am I talking enough? Okay, thank you. They separate us, the children separate and the women and men separately. I was so used to it. I was close to my mother. I was crying constantly, very unhappy, and the children came to me who were already there and they said, don't cry, we will stay with you, we will play together. But I had no choice. So we came to they put us in the room, a small room, 12 children, okay? So there was no place even where to sleep. Some of us, they slept on the floor. We took turns. Of course, we took turns. Some of them, they had bed, but what kind of bed it was. But it was miserable. Okay? It was terrible. And the food, terrible. And the worst part was, the Czechoslovakia had 4 seasons. So it was winter time, snow, cold. Everybody was freezing. And many times during the night, whistleblower, okay? So what happened? And the order, you put something, shoes or something and go out. In the middle of the night. So, asking why? Why you doing this to us? There was no answer. Of course not. They wanted to know later on, of course, when, you are older, so then you started to think what really happened. So they wanted to know how much children can tolerate the marching and snow and cold. Lots of, people froze to death, especially the children, I mean. So this happened many times during the night. Once in a while, my mother came to visit and I was very happy, of course, over there. And one day she came and she said, put something warm, dress up something warm and just don't say anything, don't mention anything. So what happened, my grandmother, who was very tiny, very short woman, but very businesswoman. They have stores, they have she was very professional and businesswoman. She kind of smuggled with her the gold. Of course, it's a chutzpah, how we say chutzpah, to bring the gold or the money to to this place. And meanwhile, while we stay over there, she met this soldier who was watching there and, them and everybody. And she bribed him. She told him, I will give you a gold if you help us to, to get out from this camp. It was such a, can you imagine? She took chances practically, because if he would report her, so they will kill her on the spot, and also maybe, I don't know, the whole family practically. But she trusted him, and that's what happened. So this soldier, he had connection with other soldiers because they arranged everything for us to get away from this camp. And we arrived in the next small village. And so everything was arranged. So apparently this soldier had connection with other soldiers. That's what they did. And then they shared with the money or with the gold, whatever. So we arrived in this village. It was the family where we stayed.
Yeah.
The family when we stay, they were young family and they had farm. So my mother and my grandmother, they were working on the farm, and we children, my brother and I, we were helping little bit. And we had place where to sleep, so it was much better. It was wonderful for us. We had food to eat naturally, and we were kind of like happy. Then, meanwhile, we got the Christian paper. Yeah, I have to tell you, we got the Christian paper. So my name is Margaret. Sometimes I'm still using secretly, okay? And so we stayed there, and then one day, knocking on the door, and there was the fascists, Slovak fascists. They were looking for my mother. They said that she's a partisan. Can you imagine? My mother said, I'm not a partisan, and she was not a partisan. She said, I'm a Christian woman, I'm working here. So what do you want from me? Bottom line, they took my mother. They took and they held her for 2 weeks. Can you imagine 2 children, and grandma stays with us. We were lost because without a mother. After 2 weeks, they let her go. And when she arrived, so we were very happy. But then she said, children, it's very dangerous to stay here, and we have to leave. So she asked the owner if he would drive us to the mountain, because there was next to the very close, there was a mountain. Of course, he did. And we arrived over there. There was already a lot of Jewish people and the partisan also. In this place, they were partisan. But they told us right away, they don't get very comfortable, because we never know when the German, because there was already Germany in the place, when they might surprise us. And so they gave us food, and we slept, of course, on the grass, and stayed there waiting for end of the war, right? Meanwhile, the Germans surprised us, and they took us again, and some partisans, they they left, and some of them, they stayed with us. So again, there was those big cars. The Germans put us in the cars, and they drove us to another place. When we arrived, we find out again there was another camp. In this was much better place, because the soldier, in Czechoslovakia, every man who is 18 years old had to go to the army. If you are study, so after you finish study, then you go to the army. No women, of course, only, I think so in Israel, the women, but only men. And they stay in those big buildings. There were lots of like 10 big buildings. So they put us over there. We had already our, place where to the bed. We had our bed, and they had a factory. So again, my mother and my grandmother, they started to work in this factory. And with children, we had already some teacher who was teaching us, and also they had a farm also with a white rabbit. I will never forget it. So we took care of this white rabbit. Beautiful. And there one day I am outside with my brother, and huge, a lot of the airplane. I said to him, look out to the silver bird. I call them silver bird. And we, ran under the table. Then we find out there was already American, American airplanes. So meanwhile, in this place, it is very close to Poland and very close to Auschwitz. There was lots of shooting. Many times, people started, they wanted to escape from there, and they would catch them, so they shoot them. Lots of even children, who was sick or something, you see them one day, the next day you didn't see them. It's horrible. So, but everybody was waiting for when the war was over. In May 1945, finally the war was over. And also it was a lot of shooting, okay? It was shooting between, German and Russian and Slovak. So it was very dangerous even to go on the street. Meanwhile, everything was ruined, so we couldn't travel anywhere because everything was demolished. There was no traveling. So we stayed there another 2 months or so until we were able to go to Bratislava, which now is the capital city of Slovak Republic. Mother wanted to find out what happened with the father and the rest of the family. I'm talking very briefly because I don't know, the timing is. So when we arrived to Bratislava, my mother find out where to go and register. And then when she put my father's name, a man came to her and he said, I saw your husband just very short before the end of the war. So my mother was so happy about her husband. Where did you see him? In Auschwitz. So we know for sure that my dear father, he was, don't know if he was, he never came back, okay? So we went back to where we, before the war, where we lived before the war. What we find out, everything was burned down to the ground. There was huge war between Russian and German and Slovak. Everything, the houses, everything. So I don't have not one whole picture from my father, not one picture, and the whole family, everything was, we lost 80% from my family, like uncles, aunts, cousins, and material stuff, everything. So we had to go to live in another city. It's like 6 kilometers from where we used to live. And we find the apartment. And my mother had to go to work. She never worked in her life, but she had no choice because she had small children and my grandmother survived. And so she had to go to work. Very hard. It was very hard. I went to school. My brother went to school, but my brother, when he was 13 years old, he decided that he wants to go to Israel. Again, my mother was very, unhappy about this, but he kind of like find this group, the student, his age, they were like 18 or 20, and he went to Israel. Of course, he ended up in the kibbutz, and then he went to also the school, and he went to army. He was wounded, and he met somebody after this, and he started to learn, developing, building. So now I always said, if I meet Israeli or somebody, my brother built Ashkelon because he was a very successful developer, and he lived in Ashkelon and he built Ashkelon. He got married, the children, 2 children, and they live now in Nesiona, if anybody knows, probably. Anyway, so, and I, in Czechoslovakia also, let me go back a little bit. When you are in 9th grade, you have to decide what you want to study. And I must say, all my friends were Christian Catholic. I didn't have not one Jewish friend because nobody my age survived the war, okay? But we were so close, very, very good friends, very, very good friends. And one of them, she wanted to go to medicine, she studied medicine. When in 9th grade, we had to decide it. So I couldn't study medicine, I studied economy. And also, over there, that time, I don't know now, okay, now it's probably different. When you are going to school or you are working, there is no such a thing. You are in college and you don't know what you want to be, like here, okay, I know. When you are finished, or you going to school, or you going to work. So after I graduated that school, I got a job immediately. And meanwhile, I always said that every penny what I'm going to make, it will go to my mother because she was working very hard and she deserved. So that's what happened. until I got married. And even then, I always support her. So that's what it was. So I got married, and we have son Peter. He was born in 1965. And life was very good. My husband made lots of money. I made lots of money. We had all comfort, okay? Car, he had motorcycle, brand new home. My mother also, she had everything comfort, traveling a lot. We had passport to Europe, so we could travel to Europe, not to United States or something, but to Europe. Then in 1968, Russia invaded Czechoslovakia. So can you imagine now people, Jewish and non-Jewish, they started to leave Czechoslovakia. So we decided to leave also. Packed 2 suitcases, small baby, Peter was 3 years old, and we left. We came to Vienna, and we registered with the Hayas, maybe somebody knows, and because we already know how it's going, and we stayed there in Vienna 4 weeks, and they sent us to Rome another 7 months, and we came legally to United States in 1969, September 1969. So we find the motel on Fairfax and the Melrose, and we stayed there for a while. Staying over there, we were looking for apartment. Nobody wanted to rent us because the small child. Dog and cats, yes, but no children. Okay, that was my experience. So finally we found this apartment, 1 bedroom, very nice. She was a teacher from Poland, and I could communicate her, okay, because we didn't speak any English. So I understood Polish, and she understood me, Slovak. It's the border, okay. So anyway, so she was helping me a lot. And then I went to evening school with Peter. My husband got a job immediately. So I always say that people who want to work, they find a job. He worked 10 hours a day, okay? So it wasn't easy, hard, because I always say, we came here, no language, no money. But people who wanted to work, they always can find a job. There is, complain always is easier to go and get from the government, but we never got 1 penny from the government. From the highest, what they pay for us for the staying, in these places, we pay every penny back. So slowly then we moved from 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom, then we invited my mother. Meanwhile, my mother went to visit her son. She didn't see for 20 years in Israel, right? And then she stayed 2 years in Israel and 2 years in the United States. Later, then Peter went to Hebrew school in Los Angeles. He had bar mitzvah, Sharet Tefillah temple, if somebody knows where is Sharet Tefillah, Beverly Boulevard. And so we managed, okay, slowly, but we managed. Then later on, Peter got sick. And I always said, this is my Holocaust, Peter passed away. And so I moved to the Valley. I was working, and I got my real estate license, and then I did the bookkeeping and bought the house in the Valley. And then I quit and retired at the same time. And I was prepared to retire. So then I took 1 class. Yeah, I went to school, and I took art class. So I do little painting, and as a hobby. Okay, as a hobby, not for self, because they want to sell. And then Los Angeles Museum of Fine Art about me. I don't know, somebody who knows me probably mentioned. They called me, they invited me, and they asked me if I wanted to speak to students. They have the regular, with the buses, yeah, they bring the student to the museum, so to speak. So I started slowly. I started to speak over there. Then I speak with different, they also organize students at different temples, different schools. And so whenever they invited me, it was everything before this virus, okay? This was regular. After the virus, I spoke with to student UCLA on Zoom. It was on Zoom as a matter 2 months ago. Yeah, in February, I had 2 classes on Zoom with a student from UCLA. And one day, professor called me, and yeah, 4 or 5 times a year for the last 6 years, I have been speaking at UCLA. So this professor called me in January if I wanted to speak his student. He had like 70 students. So everything on the Zoom, even, I don't know, it's different because, when you are with a student, so after you finish, they hug you, they kiss you. So it's a different feeling. It's much, it's different, it's different, yeah. So, and yeah, so, that's what I have been doing, yeah, like I mentioned, and it's the truth. And I now with these the viruses for the whole year, it was very hard. I am not complaining. Thank God, it's getting easier, it's getting better. So it's I just wanted to thank you for listening to me. My unfortunate story, yeah, because that's how when I started to speak to students, I always said that unfortunately, because nobody should go through this. Nobody should go through this because we are Jewish, so we have to suffer. We have to suffer, and this is so hard, and this is so difficult, and to lose even now, when I go to the store or sometimes some place, and I see the young children, and daddy, my heart is breaking. I feel like, coming, I'm going to hurt you. It's so hard. Even though I am old, and I still miss my father very much. So it's very hard, and I always say it's unfortunate, but really, what happened to people, and just because they are Jewish, and unfortunately, the situation is not getting even here now. It's terrible. It's terrible. Like they hate us. Yeah. So I always stress the student. I know you are adults, so I don't have to stress you. Then just share your experience. When I am talking to you, that's my motto with the student. Just share with your friends and family and anybody. If somebody tells you that Holocaust never happened, you just tell them it's not true because Holocaust really happened, and you had the chance to meet somebody who really been through this. Hell, this is like, it's terrible. So, and also, it's also said, I also tell them, just be nice and polite and friendly because it's, it's very important in life. Yeah. But since you are all adults, you are grandparents. I wish I would be grandparents. That's what I miss a lot. That's what that's what I miss a lot. Yeah. So I just wanted to say, just stay healthy. That's the most important thing. And if you have some question or now you will recognize me, you can say hello. Right, Rabbi? Yeah. So anybody has some question, please feel free to. I'd be more than happy if Rabbi agree with the timing. I don't know what is the timing. I still have 7 o'clock, so it's probably not right.
We are fine for timing. Eva, thank you so much. I just want to throw it out there if anyone wanted to ask Eva anything directly, to clarify something, just to share something else. So now's the time. But as she also said, she is around and is happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you at any point as well. But if anyone had a question or a
Yeah.
point of clarity, just raise your hand. And if you're shy, you can type it into the comment section and I can read it out aloud to Eva for you.
Yeah.
For you.
You remember I mentioned I don't have one whole picture from my father. I don't know if you can see. Can you see? Can you see this right here? Right here. Half. Can you see, Rabbi?
Yeah.
Yes, with the big bow, that beautiful big bow on the hair.
That's me. That's me. Yeah. But this is the only half of the picture of my father. That's all what I have.
Mm.
I don't have one picture. And here is my dear son, Peter, Bar Mitzvah, 13 years old. And oh, I love to dance in school, so I have to share with you. That's me. We had a group and we were traveling. We went to Prague and different cities from the school. So, and I love to travel also. Okay, that's my story.
I think just my only question is how were you able to just emotionally rebuild yourself? And as you said, like there are moments in your life when you just feel that heartbreak again. But every time I saw you in shul when we would get to see each other, you'd be Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi, and give me such a hug. And you're someone that oozes positive energy and love and warmth, and you're chatty and vibrant. And I'm sure that there's so much darkness inside, and there are for so many of us. But just was it a long process? Did you have therapy? How are you able to be the incredible person that you are in the world today?
It is sometimes it's very hard, sometimes I feel like everything is against me, but the other day I try to shake off, I try not to think negative. I guess that's what my savor is, because when Peter passed away for 40 years, I thought I'm not going to survive. It was, but my friend, my very dear friend said, Eva, you have two choices. You live or you die. Okay, so apparently I choose to live. But you know what? I don't know, certain things I still remember, like my mother always, instructed to me, even when as a child, 3-4 years old, she always said, because there was some member of the family who, they wanted to do things I wanted to do, they didn't want to, my cousin. So my mother always tells me, just be good, just don't say anything. She called me Evichko, okay? Because when you are a child, they call you differently, not Eva.
Evika.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you. And so just be smart. She said to me always, just be smart. Don't say anything. Just let her do it. Let them do it. So I guess it stays with me. And as I mentioned to you, the things what I say to students, I like to apply to myself, just be polite, just be nice. Sometimes you don't like, not everything is perfect, and you don't agree with the person, or some person you like better than the other, So it's that's what it is. I'm trying. I always say I'm trying. It's not easy. Many times it's not easy. But with a good friends, I'm trying. I'm always trying. And that's it.
I have a question that was written to me, which is, do you have any connection with the family you first stayed with when the guards helped you out of the camp?
Oh, after the war we did. We visited them many times with the family, yeah. But about this soldier, that's we find out, a little bit later. The soldier, he was Jewish. Because there were lots of Jewish soldiers also, who was working, helping, whatever. So maybe his idea was, to go and to help as many people as possible. Yeah. So we find out then so he was Jewish. The other thing is when fascists came to get my mother, we find out that next door neighbor daughter, she reported. Yeah. Because, otherwise, how would they know? How would they find out? But that's what we find out. Yeah, then she reported. But I remember after the war, we went to visit the family. And we always send them packages or trying to help them whenever we was, able to. Yeah, that was nice. But meanwhile, also, when we were, I forgot to mention, there are many things I forgot, but when we were hiding in this mountain, remember when we went to the mountain, and my grandma, she decided just to go, to walk a little bit in the mountains. She wanted to, I don't know, to just get a little bit, not the fresh air, but she wanted to walk. She went. And she got lost in that mountain. And before the war, my parents, but mostly my grandparents, they were very Orthodox. They were very religious. They even had the Torah in the house. They were Orthodox. But anyway, so my grandma started to cry and she said, oh God, she started to pray, whatever. I don't know what to do. And she got lost, because in the mountains when you get lost, it's not easy to. And so then suddenly a woman appeared to her. And it's a true story because the grandma, told me. And the woman appeared and she pointed her which way to go. Because grandma said, I'm lost. So this woman pointed her where to go. So my grandma turned around. She wanted to say, thank you. There was no woman. So apparently, that's what she said. Maybe the angel, came and helped her. So that was happening. And always, whenever I say this, it's I think it will lose part.
I have a couple of other questions, so thank you people for sending them my way. First of all, I'll tell you two questions at once and you can kind of think them both through.
Okay.
We're wondering, what was the response of the public, the people who were living in Prague, in Czechoslovakia? How was their behavior towards the remnant of the Jewish community after the war? Were they ashamed? Were they just in denial about it? Do you, if you have something to say about that? And then the other question that we have is, again, going back to when you were still in the camps. Did you have any special connection to any of the other children in the camp that you were in? Were you able to stay in touch with any of them? Or did you just lose all of those connections?
Yeah.
And did you, it sounds like you didn't really get caught when you were escaping from the camp. But did you ever get nearly caught? Was there a moment when you felt like the most in danger? So if you just want to tell us any of those questions, it's okay if you don't want to share.
Unfortunately, I don't no connection with the children, with the student, not the student, with the children, what I say in the camp. No connection with them because my mother, when she came to get me, she said, don't talk to any, okay? Don't say anything. It was very secretive, because the whole, it was dangerous. It was dangerous. And so she just asked me, please don't say anything. So unfortunately, I had no connection. And the people, in Slovak, where we live before the war. First of all, we couldn't claim anything because, everything burned down. Even Christian houses, not only Jewish houses, was burned down. Okay, so there's a connection. I remember the closest family who lived next to us. We visited them a couple of times, and one of them, she got married after, and she invited us to the wedding. So we were in touch. I know there is some family, they didn't like that Jewish people came back. He said, oh, because I hear on the television or something, when some family return, the neighbors, they didn't like them. No, we had a very good relationship with this few family. As I said, they invited one of the girl got married, so we were invited to a wedding. So the relationship was okay. It was very hard. It was very hard to start because there was no welfare. Like here, when you are poor, you go to the temple, they help you. You go to the government to help you. Over there, nobody helped. My mother had very hard time, very hard life. So, and for the holidays, there was one temple, but there was no rabbi. There was no. They used to. It was very ruined. Almost nothing left from the temple. So during I remember for the Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, or Passover, we went to different cities. We went to the Košice, where I was born, because I was born in different city than we live. It's a second largest city in Slovakia. So we had, from my mother's side, the family who survived, he lived in the Košice, the city Košice. And even when we had bris, when Peter was bris, so we stayed with his family. They were still Orthodox after the war. Okay, so we stayed with them for the Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, things like this. We didn't stay at home. We took the bus. There was only bus. No, nothing. Okay, so always the 37 kilometers the distance. So we took the bus and we stay with this family, and that's how it was. After the war, many years, it was very hard, especially for my mother. For me and my brother, it was easy because children, you have friends, you have school. I was very good student. I like this study, and so at least my mother didn't have problem to raise us, and we didn't have everything what the children have here. The life was different, and we did everything ourselves, and my grandma took care of the household, and I went to school, and my mother went to work. So that's how it was. It's very hard, but later, slowly, like everything else, you make life easier. Then, second question.
That's beautiful and frank and honest and detailed. And Eva, we love you so much, and we are so grateful that you are here today, and that you survived. And it doesn't just take luck and courage, but it takes spirit as well. And I can see why you are here. And really, I know that after hearing these accounts, these harrowing tales from survivors, I know I'm always left with feeling a mixture of overwhelming sadness and anger, and even just sickness about what humans can do. But I think what I often feel as well is that powerlessness. This was in the past. There's nothing I can do, and I don't know what the call to action is. As Jewish people, we want to be people of good deeds. There are, I think, a few things that all of us can do in the wake of Yom HaShoah. We can first of all just hug all of our surviving loved ones as tightly as possible, whether we offer that virtually or with the people who are in the room with us just right now, and tell them we love you. Literally, we can call people up, anyone who is alive, and just take that not for granted, that anyone who has a brother, a sister, a parent, a grandparent still alive, just reach out and say, I love you. On Yom HaShoah, I love you. And there are a few other things we can do as well. I think we can support Jewish causes, our beloved Jewish institutions, our schools, our synagogues, any Jewish charitable cause, because all of those, they all can continue to help us as Jewish survivors thrive. And then on an even bigger level, which Eva alluded to as well, we can look outwards to genocides that are occurring right now in the world on our watch. And we can see if we can provide some relief to other innocent people who are being persecuted due to their race or religion. And again, I'll leave that up to you as to how, where, or why you want to try to make that difference. If you just give some time or money or energy or donations to the people who are currently suffering, because I think that is the most Jewish response, to say, let's see if we can help diminish the pain and the suffering in the world today, because we know we went through it. And then the other thing that we get to do that's immediate is mourn, is have a moment of grief together, is light our yahrzeit candles and share the names of the people that our congregants have told us these people are missing and they didn't survive. And we've compiled a list together. And what we do is, what normally we do this in person, we light our yahrzeit candles, we read the list of names out aloud, and then Kanta Aronoff will sing an El Malei Rachamim, and we will do a collective mourners Kaddish for all the millions of Jewish souls who perished in the Holocaust. So that is where we're going next in our program. I'm just going to briefly give people a moment if you want to get a yahrzeit candle. I know Kanta Aronoff has one, and she's going to see if she can angle her camera there. She'll just light it for us. I've got mine here. And then again, I wrote in the comments section that I would love the reading of the names to be a communal endeavor, because that's much more powerful than one voice reading all of them, or just even looking at the names. So I know several of you have already volunteered to say, I'll read a group of names. I've literally grouped 22 different little mini lists. There's just about 10 names per list, and I'm looking for a few more volunteers who would just be willing, again, without having practiced it. So it's okay if you don't quite get the name perfect. We'll see it on the screen in a moment, but I just love for us to try to together memorialize these cherished people. So Kanta Aronoff will light the yahrzeit candle. I will introduce the paragraph, and then we will proceed.
The candle is lit. It's not one of the, you can't really see through it, but it is indeed lit.
My candle is on as well. Okay, I'm just going to frame the reading now. Let me just check we're all working. Today, on Yom HaShoah, we remember the victims of the greatest crime of person against person, the young, the old, the innocent, the 1.5 million children starved, shot, given lethal injections, gassed, burned, and turned to ash because they were deemed guilty of the crime of being different. We remember what happens when hate takes hold of the human heart and turns it to stone. What happens when victims cry for help and there is no one listening. What happens when humanity fails to recognize that those who are not in our image are nonetheless in God's image? We remember and pay tribute to the survivors who bore witness to what happened and to the victims, so that, robbed of their lives, they would not be robbed also of their deaths. We remember and give thanks for the righteous of the nations who saved lives, often at the risk of their own, teaching us how in the darkness we can light a candle of hope. Today on Yom HaShoah, we call on Almighty God to help us hear your voice that says in every generation, do not murder, do not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor, do not oppress the stranger. We know that whilst we do not have the ability to change the past, we can change the future. We know that whilst we cannot bring the dead back to life, we can ensure their memories live on and that their deaths were not in vain. And so, on this Yom HaShoah, we commit ourselves to one simple act. We remember, Yizkor. May the souls of the victims be bound in the bond of everlasting life. And let us say to that, Amen. All right, I have our first list of names, and I would love to ask Joette to begin us off.
Dola Abeles, Mendel Abeles and family, Ira Arts, Luba Arts, Mark Arts, Mina Arts, Bankier family, Ella Behrman, James Behrman, Leo Behrman, Rosie Behrman.
Mel Aronoff, would you be willing to take our second list?
Unmute.
Alter Zev Belfer, Baruch Hirsch Belfer, Lencion Belfer, Chava Belfer, Esther Freemet Belfer, Albert Benvenisti, Baruch Benvenisti, Nissim Benvenisti, Ruben Benvenisti, Sarah Benvenisti, Sipora Benvenisti.
Gary and Linda Spivak, if you'd like to do number 3, as you are not muted. So that would be perfect.
One to each. Go ahead.
Elia Berkovitz, Dvora Berkovitz, Isidore Berkovitz, Yaakov Berkovitz, Yussel Berkovitz family, Sender Berkovitz, Wolf Berkovitz, Armin Berkovitz,
Avram Berkowitz and children, Fega Berkowitz family, Machla Berkowitz, Sender Berkowitz family, Salil Berkowitz family, Yidis Berkowitz family.
Helen Wade, would you like to take the next grouping?
Sure. Yitzhak Biner, Meyer Biner, Sarah Biner, Frima Blackman, Joseph Blackman, Golda Blackman, Ephraim Blackman, Kurt Block, Maida Block, Chaya Blumenstein, Gita Blumenstein, Israel Blumenstein.
Thank you so much for that. Sheila Lane, if you'd like to take the next list.
Hakatan Bomberg, Malvena Bomberg, Milo Bomberg, Baruch Browner, Toba Browner, Bila Cherlevich, Chana Cherlevich, Vishal Cherlevich, Freda Cherlevich, Shio Cherlevich, Isaac Cordoval, Marie Cordoval.
All right, for the next one, which starts on the page above, could we actually get Cantor Judy Aronoff to do this one?
Amalia, Martin, Diamond, Sammy, Diamond, Shimon, Diamond, Yehuda, Diamond, Avram Domke, Eliyahu Domke, Miriam Domke, Ruth Domke, Moshe Engel, Yaakov Koppel Engel, and I would like to, if I may, add my great-grandmother Shifra Auslander Goldstein and great-great-grandfather Aaron Bear Goldstein.
For number 7, can I ask if any of the Alden or Oberstein family would like to do maybe 7 and 8, and maybe 9 as well? I know there's a few of you watching.
Yeah. Ita Feeman, Mordecai Lieb Feeman, Ben Sion Fish, Barbara Frankel, Paul Frankel, Irene Fried, Eugenia Friedman, Dorothy Frost, Joelle Friedman family.
Thank you, Shayna. Would someone else who is in your clan like to do number 8?
Ryan Gelberg, Huna Gelberg, Devorah Gelberg, Israel Gelberg. Malka Gelberg, Pinchas Gelberg, Rachel Gelberg, Shio Gelberg, Cyril Gelberg, Wolf Gelberg. Do you want to do 9?
Right.
Oh, okay. Berta Gluck, David Gluck, Herman Gluck, Regina Gluck, Margaret Gottsman, Samuel Gottsman, Bertha Gottschock, Chaim Itzhak Gringotts, Elsa Grunewald, Henry Grunewald, Martin Grunewald, Bullock Grunbaum, Charles Grunberg, Egon Grunberg, Rosika Grunberg.
Thank you so much again, Shayna and Hillary. Kimberly West, I would love you to take number 10, if that's okay.
Burl Dove Grunstein, Chaya Sarah Grunstein, Chaim Tibor Grunstein, Devorah Vera Grunstein, Labe Grunstein, Meir Miklos Grunstein, Mordechai Grunstein, Pinchas Grunstein, Sigmund Grunstein, Yehudit Grunstein.
Susan Rosen, if you'd be willing to read number 11, that would be wonderful.
Brana Heisler, Isidore Heisler, Joseph Heisler, Moshe Aaron Heisler, Emil Herman, Justin Herman, Ludwig Herman, Nani Herman, Lima Hershkovitz, Isaac Hershkovitz and 2 sons, and my great-grandmother Libby Levin and my great-grandfather Meyer Levin.
Thank you. And I should have mentioned, I absolutely encourage you to add your own names to this list. So thank you so much for that. Let's go to 12. So if Yvonne and Ted are still around, if you want to divide this up any way you'd like.
It's just me. Abram Hochman, Yocheved Fega Hochman, Binyamin Jakobovics, Miriam Jakobovics, Rivka Jakobovics, Shalom Jakobovics, Ernest Jaskovic, Lagos Jaskovic, and Helena Jaskovikova.
Can I read this?
Absolutely.
No, the previous.
Oh, sure. If you want to just do the pronunciation, go for it.
No, that's my father.
Oh, so please.
Shalom Yakubovich, Ernest Yuskovich, my father, Lajos Yuskovich, my uncle, Helena Yuskovichova, that's my aunt.
Thank you. Thank you for
Helena.
that. Would you like to read number 30? Actually, no, I promised Susie Katz is going to read number 13.
Yeah.
This is a lot of the Katz people. So Susie.
Avram Katz, 25 descendants of Baruch and Jenny Katz, Hannah Katz, Gertrude Katz, Inza Katz, Isaac Katz, Leiber Katz, Lila Katz, Nochman Katz and family, Rivka Katz, Sally Katz, Sura Katz, Yankov Katz.
Thank you. Melinda, if Melinda Marcus would be willing to read number 14.
Sure. Clara Kaufman, Etta Kaufman, Gita Kaufman, Menachem Mendel Kaufman, Zahava Kaufman, Zev Aryeh Kaufman, Tzvi Meyer Kaufman, Elias Kling, Ernst Kling, Mina Kling, Ruth Kling, and Mina Korach.
Thank you. I know this is taking a long time, but it's meant to. It's meant to be painful and it's meant to be arduous, and we're meant to just feel a little overwhelmed at just how many people there are. Would someone in the Pankowski family be willing to read number 15?
Kramer family, Arno William, Letzvitz family, Nanny Lewin, Ursula Lewin, Beryl Liebling, Esther Tilly Liebling, Isaac Liebling, Yichen Liebling, Greta von Meideen, and Modrakina family.
Thank you so much, Stella. Would you be willing to do number 16 for us?
Okay. Hans O'Brien, Greta Pachter, Kurt Pachter, Mina Pullman, Abraham Rafer, Moshe Rafer, Zelda Rafer, Henrietta Rappaport, Samuel Rappaport, and Zia Rain, Edic Rain, Jurek Rain, and Moshe Rain.
We've reached the R's. Would anyone else who I haven't called upon be willing to read this one? I'm saving Susie Wozniak for the very last number 22, because that's where there's a Wozniak name, and I know you volunteered. Anyone else who'd like to? And you can go again if you read once.
This one. Okay.
I'll do it.
Weisman.
Yeah.
It's Harold. Margie Weissman, Sylvia Reisman, Pinchas Reitblum, Yankiv Reitblum, Yisrael Reitblum, Chana Rosenblum, Moshe Aaron Rosenbaum and 5 sons, Mina Rosenberg, Muriel Rosenblatt, Cyril Rosenblatt, Zanvel Rosenblatt, Alter Rottenberg.
I realized I haven't done one, so I'll do number 18. Chaim Shlomo Rothenberg, Drezer Rothenberg, Andre Sapintan, Avraham Sapintan, Frida Sapitan, Herman Sapinatan, Yehudit Sapintan, Berthold Schneemann, Esther Gringutz Schlossberg, Eva Schwartz, Naska Schwartz, Roman Schwartz, and Selma Schwartz. Again, unfortunately, I never met any of these people, so I don't necessarily know how to pronounce their names. And I know a lot of us are finding that, and that's again just part of this experience. These are often quite European sounding names. We wish that they had been with us so that we could have shaken their hands and said, Shabbat Shalom, tell me your name. We've got just a couple more before I go to Susie Wozniak. So who would like to be, we've just got a couple of readers. Mandy Pankowski.
Razel Silbermanis, Noel Hirsch Silbermanis, Yisrael Moisha Silbermanis, Erica Simon, Max Simon, Rita Simon, Agnes Summer, Bendick Summer, Doris Summer, Jacob Summer, Jenny Summer, Mina Summer.
Dana can read.
I can read.
Thank you, Dana.
Spatsgang family, Eva Stang, Frida Stang, Irma and Siegfried Stern, Irmagard Stern, Kurt Stern, Werner Stern, Roman Smuller, Itzhak Teitelbaum, Moshe Teitelbaum, Pessa Roisa Teitelbaum, Toba Scheindel Teitelbaum.
There is Alta Thunberg, just like in your family, the older one. Weintraub family.
Ellen, if you'd like to read number 21.
Holman family, Alta Tomber, Yankov Tomber, Weintraub family, Joseph Wilder, Paulina Wilder, Rukla Zuta Wilder, Wilder family, David Winnick.
Thank you so much, Ellen. And then Susie. Susie Wozniak. If you can unmute yourself if you're still happy to read.
Yes.
Are you still there?
Oh, okay. Now, shall I start all over?
Yes, sorry, because you were muted. So if you can just read from Joseph first after. Thank you.
Joseph, Wirstafter, Abraham Woznicka, David Woznicka, Esther Woznicka, Helen Woznicka, Mordechai Woznicka, Samuel Nathan Woznicka, Hindse's son Yankov, Zira family.
Toda rabah to everyone. This is just what the list looks like entirely. There's just a lot of names, and we just read each
These
and
are
every
all family
one.
members of our Adat families?
Yes.
Yeah, these are the names that when people joined Adat Ariel, we asked them, do you have any survivors you'd like to let us know about? Of course, there are many, many more as well out there, but this is the list that we have and we'll add. So feel free to let us know, if you more recently joined Adat Ariel, this list was relevant as of last year. So we're going to just leave that list out there, and Kanta Aronoff will offer the El Malay Rachamim and a Mourner's Kaddish, and it is customary to stand if we can for these prayers. And just one more time, thank you again for doing that. It was really powerful to hear children's voices and just all of our voices help commemorate these people by giving them like a moment of our time and trying to pronounce their names correctly. So, Kanta Aronoff, back to you.
El Malay Rachamim Shochen Bameromim Hametzeh Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShechina B'ma'alot Kedoshim U'Teorim Kezawar Arakia Mazhirim Lenishmot Kol Acheinu B'nei Yisrael Shenitbechu b'shoah Anashim Nashim V'ataf Shenechneku V'shenisrefu V'shenehergu Shemasru et nafsham al kiddush Hashem Beganei dente menuchatam. Ana ba'al rachamim. Hastirem beseter kenafecha liolamim. Utzror bitzror chayim et nishmotehem. Adonai hu nachalatam. V'yanuchu v'shalom al mishkavotehem. V'nomar Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, whose radiance is like the heavens, to the souls of all the men, women, and children of the house of Israel who were slaughtered, strangled, and burned in the Shoah. May they rest in paradise. Master of mercy, may they find eternal shelter beneath your sheltering wings, and may their souls be bound up in the bond of life. Adonai is their portion. May they rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Now, I think it's appropriate for anybody who feels comfortable to do so to join together in the Kaddish Yatom in the Mourner's Kaddish, where we focus on anybody we are related to, that we might have known about, or just our people in general, because, of course, in a sense, we are related to anyone who perished in the Holocaust. By the way, Jews and non-Jews, as human beings, we are related. But right now, in memory of the 6 million, we recite the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadash v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Bialma divrach hirute, v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv, v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach, leolam uleomei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen.
Amen. Toda rabah to everyone. Another big toda rabah. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts to Eva Trank for sharing with us so generously of your time. We've recorded this, so if you know of someone who wished they could have been here but didn't get the chance to, just let us know and we'll send it along. And we just want to wish you a long life to everyone. That's what we say in England. When we are in a space of mourning and of grief, we say, we wish you long life, a long and a healthy and productive life. So I'm going to stop the recording now. And just again, everyone out there on YouTube and Facebook, thank you for being part of this ceremony together. There'll be tomorrow morning just a few liturgical changes and additions. So Shacharit is at 7:30 a.m. And it will just be a tidbit longer than usual. But then really it's just up to you to have as wonderful a day as you can and live defiantly and resiliently. Spread your Jewish identity with pride.
Thank you, Rabbi, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, cousin Judy.
Eva,
Thank you, Eva.
Thank you very much.
everyone. Oh, so lovely.
Thank
to see your
you. It
faces.
was a lovely service, very meaningful and very touching.
Thank you for
And,
helping us
thank-
read. Everyone who volunteered to read. It's very scary to read names that you're not familiar with, and I think we did as good a job as we could have done. So I'm really proud of my Adat Ariel community. Next year we will do this, Baruch Hashem, in person at our Holocaust memorial with real candles, and we'll give each other big hugs, and it'll feel very different. But I think we did as good a job as we could have done tonight. So I think I'm going to end the meeting as it is nearly 9 p.m. and it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Eva. Viveka, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to see you. Nice to see you all. Thank you. Thank you.